Whoops. I'd prefer not to stand here looking silly for 10 minutes. Have I got it off? Okay. When I was 3 years old, I spoke what to me was a very simple and honest truth. That despite being housed in the body of a female, I was really a boy. Now, this would have been early 1960s in rural Indiana. I'm sure I rocked a few worlds that day. The response to my announcement was so intense and so frightening, I chose to deny what I was. And it was only years later I found the courage to face and eventually embrace who and what I really am. That experience taught me that the world did not have a space for me. Boys are supposed to feel and act like boys, and girls are supposed to feel and act like girls. End of story. So at the tender age of 3, I began the very long, lonely, and confusing journey of trying to find my way in a world that said that I was not possible. I used to think that I was really different from everyone else. After all, the transgender experience of that part of humanity that we call sex and gender is quite a bit different from what most people go through. But as the years have passed, I've been able to step back and look at the big picture. And I now understand that my experience was really not that different from anyone else's. Who among us has not been told that we are not what we're supposed to be? That there is some abstract image of the perfect human to which we should aspire. How many of you have ever personally struggled with what it means to be a real man or an appropriate woman? Don Miguel Ruiz has said that we humans are the only creatures on the planet who continually punish ourselves for failing to be what we think we should be, and that no one abuses us more than we abuse ourselves. If you can relate to that, then you can relate to my story. And that is the key. We humans are a delicious mixture of similarity and difference. We have so much in common. We all know how to love. We all hope and dream. We all know fear, rejection, and disappointment. Yet despite coming from such a common base, we continually choose to obsess upon and harshly judge our differences. Can you imagine a world where instead we chose to embrace both our commonalities and our dissimilarities? One where we celebrated the vast diversity of humanity. What a world that would be. But instead, we hold fast to this relentless pursuit of conformity, standardization, and uniformity. We have a choice. We can choose the status quo. We can continue to punish ourselves for failing to live up to this abstract notion of perfection, making ourselves so miserable in the process that we lash out at those that we view as different in a very misguided attempt to simply feel better about ourselves. Or, instead, we can choose to enjoy life. We can learn to embrace our own humanity and in the process learn to appreciate, not tolerate, but truly appreciate those around us. It's very easy to look out at the world today and walk away feeling discouraged. And let's be honest, some days it feels pretty hopeless. But I believe that there is room for optimism because we human beings are amazing and there is no stopping us once we put our mind to something. I firmly believe in my heart that you and I, through our individual actions, can change this world for the better. So how do we do that? How do we take personal responsibility for changing the world? Well, if life has taught me anything, It's that each of us has to find our own path. But let me offer a few suggestions to get you started. First, stop being afraid of yourself. Be willing to take a long, hard, honest look at who and what you are and embrace what you find. Louise Hay used to say, "I'm a very simple woman with a very simple message. Love yourself and get your act together." You are what you are. You can love it or you can hate it. The choice is yours. But life is so much more fun when you learn to love yourself. Second, stop being afraid of everyone else. I can tell you from personal experience that people become fascinating in those moments when you're able to stop judging them. Be willing to find something to appreciate about everyone you encounter. And finally, be just a little bit kinder, just a little bit nicer. Make it easy on yourself and start small. Try smiling at the cashier who takes your money. Be just a little bit kinder. And don't worry about getting it perfect because you aren't going to. There are going to be days when you don't feel kind, when you feel frustrated, probably for good reason, or angry, or scared, or depressed, or exhausted. It's all part of the human experience. It's all part of your humanity. Stop judging it and just embrace it for what it is. And the truth is, we don't need perfect kindness to change the world. All we need is a little momentum in that direction. Now, let me be clear about what I mean by changing the world. I'm not suggesting that we are just going to magically transform the place into this perfect paradise where we all agree and everybody loves everybody. That is never going to happen. We are never going to reach perfection because we are never going to get to a place where there is no room for improvement or growth. So forget perfection. We are always going to have work to do, and that's okay. I'm not talking about making a perfect world. I'm talking about making a better and kinder world. The energy of kindness is incredibly powerful because kindness has the ability to improve almost any situation. As an example, consider the gridlock that we have in Washington right now, where the two sides won't even talk to each other. Now just imagine infusing some kindness there. In the presence of kindness, it's pretty easy to imagine the two sides not only talking, but actually listening to one another. And once that happens, then the focus can shift to one of finding solutions rather than simply winning at the expense of the other side. Kindness can make that happen. Kindness is incredibly powerful. Well, you may be thinking, that really sounds good, but how are we supposed to just inject kindness into DC? It's not like we can just go put it in the water supply, right? Well, all you can do is all you can do. And one thing you can start to do right now is be just a little bit kinder as you make your way through your day-to-day life. Kindness is contagious, and your actions have an effect on the world. Look, no matter who you are, there are going to be people out there who don't like you. There may even be people out there right now who hate you. Hate you. Sometimes just for being who and what you are. You don't have to hate them back. Meeting hate with hate never leads to peace. But kindness can move us in that direction. Change is nothing more than momentum in a different direction. And it can start right here, right now, one-on-one between you and me. When I was a kid, the Western genre was huge. There were cowboy-themed movies and TV shows and cartoons, and oftentimes there would come a point in the storyline when these two gunslingers would face off against each other on a deserted dirt road main street of an old Western town. And sometimes one of them would say something like, "This town ain't big enough for the two of us." And when I was a kid, that really confused me because I thought, well, look at all that space. As I got older, I realized that it was not about physical space, but rather it was this notion that who you are and how you see the world is so different from who I am and how I see the world that this town cannot survive that level of diversity. But once again, I had it right when I was a kid, because there was plenty of space in that town, and the world is absolutely big enough for all of us. You bring a unique and incredible light to the totality of humanity. Don't be afraid to let it shine. There is nothing wrong with me. And there is nothing wrong with you. Now, go make a difference. Thank you.